Hello to all my friends at Flat. My name's Geoff Gould. I'm a music teacher at Swift River Elementary School in Belchertown, Massachusetts, in the USA. I was a finalist this year, one of the final 10 people recognized nationwide for the Music Educator of the Year award through the Grammys and the Recording Academy. My background in music, like most musicians, is that we're lifelong musicians first. I started as a child with piano lessons in probably 7, 8 years old. I played all the way through my adolescence through public education. And it wasn't really until my first year of college that I really felt the calling to make sure that I became a part of this art on some greater, more grand scale. And I love working with kids. I love being engaged in new ideas through learning. And music is a lifelong learning endeavor to begin with. So, becoming a music teacher seemed like this natural fit in my life. So I ended up going to the University of Southern Maine School of Music in Gorham, Maine, where I received an incredible education from those teachers up there who taught me all about the ins and outs of how to be in a classroom and how to think big and differently. And um, yeah, I've been teaching for 18 years. This is the end of my 18th year as a teacher in public education. I've taught in two school systems, Westfield, Massachusetts, and Belchertown, Mass. I grew up in Belchertown, Mass. And so coming back here a few years ago to establish my brand of music education through technology and through outreach, through bringing a greater sense of community and civil engagement to my students has resonated so well. And it's because it's my hometown community, it almost feels like it's more purposeful work. It's definitely like a lifelong dream to be recognized on a national level for your work that you do every single day when that alarm clock goes off. There will always be a sense of gratification that I have after receiving that nomination that will make me feel deeply about what I do every day when I wake up. It was a really, really great thing. It's only really set in too in the following weeks and months after the Grammy Award to be known as one of the top 10 educators in the country after a field of 3,500 nominees, and to be the very last elementary school music teacher on the list of 10 is really a recognition that I will never forget as long as I live. So that was incredible. The Grammys themselves were very gracious, a lot of contact via email, some phone calls, really just vetting the people that they were sending through their nomination process. It was a wonderful experience. The Recording Academy was very gracious. They made a $1,000 honorarium in my name to me and to my music program at school. Really, just an incredible process. And again, to be nominated is an amazing thing. To be recognized in the final 10 people in the entire country is incredibly special. Um, so first of all, I should disclose that I just recently received my certification in my ISTE training. So the ISTE standards of learning for both teachers and students are becoming very widespread, and I went and got myself 100% certified as an official ISTE teacher. That's ISTE. And so this deeper look through them into the way that we integrate technology into our schools has really led me to a well of new thinking and new ideas and ways to appeal. The thing that's different about what I have at my disposal and what, say, a high school or a middle school teacher has at their disposal is that they've got students that are already very well versed at technology. They are using cell phones. They're used to using apps. They're used to simple things like touchscreen commands. Where my students, being first, second, third grade, are really just at the beginning of this. So there's a lot of a learning curve associated with the technology that I choose to use. And that's the important thing, is that at the end of the day, the technology can be great, but if the technology doesn't serve the students that are using it, that they can use the interface, that they can understand the processes that are going on, then the technology is not going to work for a general music teacher. We've got 45 minutes once a week in some cases to relay our love of music and the important things that they need as building blocks as musicians. So we need to use technology that is cutting edge, that works for the student, that works for the teacher. And that's really what has brought me to Flat. Flat is the most comprehensive that I have found anywhere form of composing music in a unified platform with instant feedback between teacher and student. Flat really truly has changed and morphed the way that I do teaching in every lesson throughout the year. I only need to get my students access to Chromebooks, which I'm lucky enough in Belchertown to have class-wide Chromebooks so that my students can come in, grab their computer, with just a few clicks, and we have it down to, I think it's just 3 clicks from when they sign into Google, that they can be in their Flat dashboard on their class page, looking at the assignment I've put up, already composing their own individual music or working off of a worksheet I've posted for them. It gets them right to it. It crowdsources all the information, which means I get to see all of it whenever I want. And it's in terms of my third grade students and second grade students who are now just really peeling the layers back and using technology, it's changed everything about the way that we relate. I find that my lessons now go to that next deeper level because we're not just singing the song or doing the solfege, but because it's so quick and adaptable that even in a 45-minute class, I can also go to that next layer of saying, let's look at the music theory. Let's have you create the music theory because it works so fluently. So Flat's greatest aspect for us and for me in integrating technology is that it's willing to have a great deep system of tool set for students to be able to use in their composition. And it's not afraid to be simplified to the point where a child 8, 9, even at 7 years old can pick it up and make ground with it. So having an approachable tool set has been incredible with Flat, and really integrating technology. That's been the big one. My entire class, every lesson I teach now is cast broadcast in the room, and students then break away from there. So technology is a very big piece of my presentation to students, and I've had incredible success maximizing every minute that we're together. Um, I was a Flat user before. My sons, who are 14 and 12, as a music teacher, since they've been little, I've been having them compose using the most user-friendly types of composition tools that I can find that also have the most robust set of tool set features. My 2 sons compose regularly using Flat. We did it as private, just in our own home personal use. And as time had gone on, I'm always checking in to see what Flat is doing because I really like the way that it's been rolled out, and the way that they care about the user interface. And when I realized that they were doing like an EDU version of it, I jumped right on it, got my class signed up. And actually signed up the entire third grade. So I have right now about 170 kids on license using Flat. And it's been great. I mean, they just did a fantastic new redesign that changed the way that some of that interface was, made it think some things a lot more logical for students to be able to figure out. And yeah, we've been having a fantastic time composing music. We were writing motifs. We've been doing little counter melodies. I mean, these are third grade kids writing chords, writing on their G clef and their bass clef because we can go there and I can assign that and we can talk about it very easily. And even with this new COVID world that we're living in, I can assign something from them sitting right here in my office and still have meaningful, deep discussions about what we're creating together, student by student. I can't even tell you now that we've been home, I can't even tell you how many times I've been able to jump into another student's piece of music on the fly and help them build it together. So the troubleshooting and the usability, not just for the students, but for the teachers too, has been remarkable. And I continue to use it and will continue to use it as a mainstay in my classroom going forward. My students are first grade through third grade. So I have one end of the spectrum that is the most enthusiastic and excited and happy students you will ever meet in your life. They want music every single day. If they could trade their math minutes for music minutes, they would do it in a heartbeat without a question asked. So in a lot of ways, I feel very empowered that I'm the one that gets to light the fire, that gets these kids so excited about music that they take it to that next level, and hopefully it burns down the road. When I have my students come back to me, years later, a decade later, and say, "Mr. Gould, I'm going to Berkeley College of Music, or I'm going to Hart in Hartford to get a degree in music." It's so uplifting, and it's so exciting that I love this age group so much, because it really is setting them off on the right trajectory to work with other great musical professionals throughout their life. And I just love that I get to be there right at the beginning to do it. The role of music education in a human being is this incredibly underdeveloped avenue in humanity that allows us to be more better people, more civically engaged, more connections with diverse people, more problem solving with people who we may not look like or sound like or be like. Music is this incredible human bridge that connects us to problem solving, to thinking deeper, to more deep expression. To not be given a music education, to not seek out a music education, is really a tragedy of humanity. It's as if people get to the end of their life and they just don't. They didn't reach that 100% potential because they left this massive part of them inside withering. I always say that when I meet people for the first time, I'm often when we share a little bit about ourselves, our name, where we're from, and I might say, "Well, what's your profession?" I say, "I'm a music teacher." 99 out of 100 of those people, when they respond to me, will say, "I wish I never stopped playing music." And I say that to my students because I want them to understand that this gift that we've started, this journey that we've started, is a gift that will continue to give throughout the course of your life. In order for people to be their potential, they have to be able to tap in to what makes them want to express their feelings, to figure out what their emotions mean, or to find meaningful purpose in their lives. And music provides all of that, and then some. The cooperation and the problem solving. It really is one of the most advanced things that our brains and our minds and our souls connect itself to while we're on this one-way trip on planet Earth. So, yeah, music education to me is as important as anything else that you're going to ever find in a public education or anything else. The fact that it's one of the original ancient educations taught thousands of years ago speaks enough for itself. But throughout the course of history, we have to continue to recognize that this art is not just it's not two dimensional. It's multi-dimensional to a human being, and we need to continue to develop and adapt to it. I think that we're the fire starters. We're the. I think human beings, whether there's ever a music teacher or there's never a music teacher in the world, people will continue to create music. They might not do it to the same extent. They might not do it in the same rate. They might not value it in our culture the same way. But people will make music. What we do is we help steer that ship, and we help augment their experience. We help bring them to that enlightenment sooner, quicker, earlier, inspire them to move in musical directions in their lives, and to continue to be flexible and adaptable to the art. And really, it's funny because it's music is a it's for everybody, but yet it's so personal at the same time. And I think music teachers really help students on a whole get in touch with what music means to them and how it affects them, as we're also trying to provide it to our community. So uh, I hope music teaching will be around for much, much longer than I am, and I hope that in the formation of quality children, I hope that many, if not all of them, come forward and blossom in their lives, knowing that music really did shape who they are and continues to. I think we're in the day in like 90, 95 days since we've been sent home from traditional learning. And I have many great things to say about online learning. I have some negative things to say about it, and many things present themselves each week as I engage in it. At first it was just the idea that, oh, this is only going to be a short term thing, and I just need to like kind of plug the holes of the ship so that we don't sink, and just keep it floating, and then get it to the point where we're back together and we can continue to develop and continue to um, you know uh, be back to what our norms are. That didn't come. So at the beginning, there was this like grand excitement about what I could do. I could do these Google Meets, or I could do compositions using Flat, and we don't need to be in the same classroom. I can keep this ship rolling. This is going to be fine. And as time has gone on, things have changed. And if I'm talking real talk with you, it's a challenge to keep the momentum going, not just from my own standpoint. I feel like I'm easily motivating myself, but keeping that motivation going with students who become more and more disillusioned to what their new norms are going to be compared to what they used to be. And so, we've entered this phase of time where online education can't just be a lecture. It can't just be a video. It has to be engagement. And just what has made my music program so popular in Belchertown and in Westfield, where I used to teach, is the engagement piece. So I knew that going into this, that if I was unable to engage, I was going to lose them, or my class was going to just become one of the others lost in the shuffle. And I wasn't willing to accept that. For me, uh, I found that the greatest way for me to communicate this art via technology was to make sure that I had plans that mirrored a lot of what I wanted to do at school, and redesign them so that I could bring them home. And that was attention to things like, rhythmic understanding, melodies, pitch, things like that. It was also, my advice would be, don't ignore the enrichment possibilities that can make kids engaged. I used technology during this COVID period to create these mini lessons I called at home fun with Google Maps, where I sent my first, second, and third grade students self-guided on Google Maps to find Carnegie Hall, and then draw a picture of it, and then talk about what they saw as they walked around it. I would provide them with little biography clips for them to read and to learn about. I sent them to Beethoven's childhood home in Bonn, Germany, where now they're actually lifting off the planet and zooming themselves all around the globe, finding these new and enriching places that we may have talked about Beethoven in school, but we've never had the opportunity to design a lesson where we can say, this is where he's from, and this is what he did, and this is where he traveled in his life. So I've been able to adapt to this new way of learning well, and I feel like my engagement numbers speak for themselves. I am heavy on assessment, in terms of, I want to know what my students are doing at all times. So being able to use things like Flat, which enables my ability to immediately see the music that they're writing as they're writing it. And if I want to jump in and help them, I can. That also gives me an opportunity to have one-way back and forth travel communication with the student, where if they actually want to meet me at a particular time in the score and write, I can. I have so many tools now at my disposal. Google Forms, something that tags on to every single lesson, that gives me the ability to see instant assessment of all the skills that I was, putting out in that video that I made of me doing rhythm or singing solfege or composing or whatever it is. So, I think that, remote education is here to stay in some capacities. And I think that, given we don't know what's going to happen with COVID over the next, say, 6 months or a year, I think that we have to be ready to adapt back to it, even if we end up back at school. I think there's a possibility we could, all be back doing remote learning. I've never liked in my career being caught unprepared. So I'm taking all the knowledge I've past 90 days, 100 days, and I'm going to apply it in the future. And I honestly think that we will get closer to all teachers finding that deeper level of engagement. But the human warmth is, in my opinion, is really engagement. It's making students feel like the screen is not getting in the way of their learning, but it's a different way to communicate it. And so I hope that many teachers think with that mindset going forward. Develop lessons that get them to move. Develop lessons that allow them to think differently. One of my more popular lessons I did over these last few weeks was I wanted to celebrate the life of Ella Fitzgerald. So I did a little biography research on her and made sure I had some talking points with the students for them to research. And I also played them a video of her doing her one note samba, probably circa 1950s, live, and they got to see what scatting was, and they'd never heard of scat. They are just learning about what jazz music is. And then beyond that, I attached a backing track video of jazz in the key of D so that they could try scatting along with it. Then I invite them to take a video of themselves doing it and post it on our Google Classroom wall. So, where we house a lot of our information, where we start, where we get a lot of our lessons assigned to us from. So, building culture, good relationship with students, you know, during this time is build culture. Like, make sure that you are developing lessons that ask people to be dynamic in what they do using music. That's what we want with music education. We want people to be dynamic. We want them to be daring. We want them to try new things. We want them to step out of the shade and into the sun so that they can develop these skills that most people shy away from or are a little bit timid of. All musicians know that much of music is a confidence game. Okay, so building culture with students, whether it's online or in class, is a huge way to build a good relationship with students and to keep them engaged in music. Um, I would say that if you are going back to school, in the fall, my advice to maintain good relationships is just be adaptable to whatever the school climate is. You're most likely not going to get to do the big concert you were hoping to do at the first half of the year, but what can you do? How can you bring those singing voices or those instruments to the community at large? There's video programs, there's editing programs. You can make that concert that's that normal cultural thing that you do in your town or in your school, and you can adapt it and you can change it, even if it's just for 1 year. For us as teachers to build good relationship with students, we also have to step out of the shadows and into the sun and be daring and try new things and to think community oriented and also think about the quality of their music education at the same time. I'm hoping, for example, our Veterans Day show, which would normally be in November, which I have very little I have hope, but very little hope that we're going to have the 1,000 people in the auditorium all staring down at us with the local television channel there filming us. I'm hoping to create some type of a digital interface of the kids singing it, whether it's edited video or capturing their voices or their audio and being able to present it to our community and to build something Veterans Day oriented from that with the other teachers and be flexible. Be flexible, and again, keep it students first always. Nothing in this career has anything to do with the adults. It's all about the kids, and I think if you focus on them and what their needs are and what would uplift them and give them a positive experience, I don't think you're going to go wrong. The first thing I would say is if you have gone through the process of getting a degree in music education, and you have passed your state exam, and you're now working as a teacher, you've done some of the hardest work in this career that you're ever going to do. To all of you musicians out there who have gone even further to achieve a master's degree or a doctorate, you've done the hardest work you're ever going to do academic wise in this field. To remain motivated, I think, is to think not so much about uh, what has brought us to this point, but maybe to think more about the moment that we're in, and to think about what your opportunities are. They take a lot of things away from us when they take away our concerts and they take away our ability to convene in the same room and sing. But there's other opportunities that open up as well, and I think that it's important for us to seek out and to think big about what those opportunities are. You may be gifted a year of school this next school year that might be vastly different than everything that you're used to in this career. That's not a bad thing. There are times where we get stuck in our ways as teachers, or we think to ourselves, I wish sometimes I could kind of blow up that lesson and reimagine it, but I just never have the time, or I never have the motivation to disrupt what my normal flow is. Now you do. And so I would say that victory this next year for music education is gonna fall at the feet of the teachers who are willing to not be so attached to the way that they used to do business, and they begin to really develop but the way that they want to do business right now in this moment, and with education going forward. We only get 35 years in this career. So, some people work a little longer, some people maybe a little less, but I look at it and say 35 years in this career to leave a mark, to make a statement, to build a program, to do something. I'm not going to let something like, a global pandemic slow down my ideas and to stop looking for my opportunity. So please, all music teachers everywhere, keep thinking big and keep being the most flexible group of educators that you can possibly be.